Hi, my name is Levi, and this is the Crystal Portal Podcast, where we talk about crystals, moldavite, spirit guides, sacred geometry, intuition, quantum energy, and all things metaphysical. Find something special for your spiritual journey. Shop online at moldavitejewelry.com to support my work. Welcome to episode 9 of the podcast. So if you've been following along, no doubt you've figured out that this is a piece of the crystal portal. If you're new here, you've come at a good time also. So today we're continuing on our series of exploring crystals in the portal. So this is one of the first few pieces that were ever created for the crystal portal. So today we're going to be looking at this section called the gateway. And it consists of a lot of selenite, shungite, and a number of other minerals. So let's get into it. Here we have the segments that make up the left and right portion of the crystal portal called the gateway, and consists primarily of selenite, which is very clearing, and shungite. Now, if you look close at how light passes through selenite, that is how the energy is clearing. So if you've ever wondered, you've got a selenite charging plate or clearing plate, and you take a piece of jewelry or crystal and you put it in there in the sun, the energy is just moving that energy right along. So if you remember early on in the Crystal Portal podcast, I had mentioned how if the Crystal Portal was going to have a lot of people go through it, it needed to be self-clearing. So selenite is an excellent choice for that. What would make selenite even better for clearing? Well, if you look down here, those little crystals are Burmese Phenakites. So there are 27 Burmese Phenakite crystals that have been added to each of these selenite plates. And then if you'll notice, there are tiny blue crystals of Benitoite also added to each of these selenite plates. And many of them are located right next to the Phenakite. So Benitoite, again, creates a strong, stable bridge. It's a very beneficial energy for humanity. Let's take a closer look at Benitoite. So this cool blue mineral right here forms in a really neat triangular formation, is from San Benito, California, hence the name Benitoite. It's originally where it was found. Here's another example of Benitoite in matrix. Again, this piece is from San Benito, California. The other main component to the gateway section are these center boards right here, called the event horizon. Now, these will be at the very, very center of the crystal portal where people actually cross through. Now, if you look close, the dark mineral has a little bit of a shine to it. So this is what's called elite noble shungite. Now, shungite is unusual from a scientific standpoint because as a form of carbon, the molecular structure is like a soccer ball. If you look at the wireframe of a soccer ball, and they're called buckyballs. Essentially, it should not exist here on Earth because scientists have said that it could have only formed in the vacuum of space. So it's a bit of a mystery. Now, from the metaphysical side, shungite is, of course, very grounding. It's excellent for EMF protection, and it's constantly hungry for negative energy. So combining that with the selenite is an excellent option for this section. Look a little bit closer. You'll see Bezeniza moldavite, pronounced like pizza. Bezeniza. So Bezeniza moldavite is very direct. So if you combine moldavite with shungite, selenite, it's very activating, but it also kind of smooths out the energy. Looking a little closer in between each of the selenite portions, you'll see these pink minerals called Pezzotaite. and these are all set in sterling silver settings. Pezzotaite is interesting because it's got some vortex energy. Today we're reading from Melody's book, Love is in the Earth, and she writes, "This mineral brings an energy to produce vibrance during relaxation, calm during turmoil, intensity and passion, and the ability to see beauty within all and everything." She also writes, "Pezzotaite is a territorial stone and has acted to guide magnetism in the region of the Earth in which it resides." So the other thing I noted was the location where this mineral resides becomes a vortex. So that's one reason why Pezzotaite is here in the crystal portal. Another mineral in the crystal portal are these little things right here called sulfur-included quartz. The sulfur quartz removes energetic parasites. So there was one time when I was meditating, I was asking about specific placement, what would be the most ideal for the highest and greatest good of all. And what I saw was like this line. They were showing lines drawn straight to a specific spot, which was the very front of the entrance where people walk through. So it's kind of hard to tell because this is not actually on the portal right now, but the sulfur quartz is to be placed at the very entrance, meaning someone walks through that way. This is Presley Bluestone, also known as Stonehenge Bluestone, in between each of the Selenites. So Presley Bluestone is actually from the same quarry that the inner circle of Stonehenge pillars were mined from. Now, essentially, they've determined that the bluestones were taken from one of two quarries where those stones originated from. For this one, we're going to take a look at the Book of Stones by Robert Simmons. He writes, "Stonehenge bluestones resonate very readily with the dragon currents or ley lines of the earth. They are one of the most powerful stones for all sorts of geomancy. Stonehenge bluestones can be utilized for drawing energies from the Earth's meridian system, of which Stonehenge itself is a part of. Through the meditative practice of energy resonance, one can utilize bluestone as a frequency guide, a way of feeling the one's path into the vibrational spectrum of the Earth's energy grid." He also writes, "Stonehenge bluestone facilitates visions of past civilizations and aids in one's accessing the Akashic records. It can help one tune into ley lines and is excellent for geomancy." Another mineral you may not have noticed is this one right here. So there are 3 Anandalite points in between each of the selenites. Now, Anandalite, hence the name, is known for divine bliss, so it's said to give people like a really euphoric feeling when they're working with it. And it's interesting because it's got a rainbow iridescence to it. It's hard to see here, but there are 3 individual points, all facing forward. So as a person approaches the crystal portal, it acts kind of like a crystal car wash. So when I was working with my guides and I asked, okay, well, how are the energies working? And what I saw was it was literally like little nozzle sprays at a car wash, kind of energetically giving people a crystal car wash as they approach the portal. But wait, there's more. Let's point some more things out here. So at the bottom of each of the selenites with the moldavite are Brazilian Phenakite crystals. Look real close, you can see them. And then at the top of each of them is a Herkimer diamond quartz crystal. These are water clear. Herkimer diamonds are excellent energy tools for both sending and receiving energy. Now, as far as the Brazilian Phenakite, if you recall, there's Burmese Phenakite in each of the selenite portions. So Brazilian Phenakite in here. Let's go take a look at the book. A Phenakite is Phenakite, but the locality also adds to the nuances of its energy. So we're taking a look at this book by Melody, Love is in the Earth. And she writes, the Phenakite from Brazil, Zimbabwe appears to emit somewhat different properties from that of Madagascar. The Brazilian and Zimbabwe Phenakite appear to produce pathway for travel within the dimensions, the travel being on the higher awareness level and the experiences being quite spiritual. The Phenakite from Madagascar, Colorado, and Burma appear to provide for a connection to a type of quote-unquote mothership from another dimension. All right, use your imagination for a moment. Imagine you are standing in the middle of the crystal portal. These event horizon sections are on either side of you, left and right. Now, if you look real close, you'll see 3 beads. These are Muonionalusta meteorites that were carved into bead form. Now, the interesting thing about Muonionalusta is it has what's called a Wittmann-Statten pattern. So if you look real close, there's this really neat triangular formation throughout the nickel-iron meteorite structure itself. And so nickel-iron meteorites were once the molten cores of planets and planetary bodies. Now, after whatever happened to the planet, traveling through space, this nickel-iron crystal structure forms as a result of ultra-slow cooling. It's like 1 degree every 10,000 years. I created these bracelets a few years ago to help me connect and tune into fifth dimensional energy when I'm creating. So in the beginning of each episode, you hear talk about, if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can go to my website, moldavitejewelry.com. Well, I make all the jewelry here. So this is the reason that Muonionalusta meteorite is in the crystal portal, because it's fifth dimensional energy. Now, if you'll notice, there is a niobium metal wire that runs between each of the Muonionalusta meteorite beads, and one end of it goes that direction, the other end goes in the opposite. So it goes around the very back of the panel here, of the event horizon, the center of the portal, and then you'll see that each section has a point at which it will connect. So you'll literally be walking through a 3-dimensional crystal portal. I hope everyone is enjoying this new series, The Crystals in the Portal. This has been a lot of fun to make, and honestly, it's a refresher for me because I get to go back and really pay attention to the crystals, minerals, tektites, meteorites that are in the portal. Because a lot of the time, I'm simply in a zone. Like, that's one thing that surprised me the other day is going around and I'm taking notes and looking back at the pictures of pieces that were added to the portal at various times. And I'm like, whoa. So if you're liking this, please give it a thumbs up, like, even a comment. It really helps the podcast to get the word out there. So next episode 10, we are going to take a deep dive into a portion called the span. And again, if you're into this kind of thing, you're not going to want to miss the next episode. You're in for a treat. All right. Well, until next time, tune into your intuition because you are the key. Align the universe within to illuminate your destiny.